In this video, we're going to be continuing our weapons a bit by focusing on making a magazine. So my initial intention was to kind of go the Escape from Tarkov route and just have just a very realistic kind of setup, but that kind of goes out of the scope of this video considering I'm trying to keep it relatively simplistic. So instead, I'm going to go the Call of Duty route with just a smidge more realism, if it can be considered that. So my idea is each magazine that you pick up, well, you can only pick up a magazine if you have a compatible weapon. So let's say I'm holding out the AR-15, I just have a standard 30 round PMag for it. That's in front of me. I walk up, I pick it up, it gets attached to the weapon. So the weapon itself is going to have its own little quote unquote inventory of magazines that you have. So if you drop the weapon, then the magazines stay with it. Just kind of arcadish, but still, well, yeah, we'll kind of see. But each magazine's going to have its own ammo capacity, ammo count, so to speak. So let's say you have 3 magazines, one in the rifle. You fire 5 rounds of magazine 1 when it holds 30. Then you reload. Well, you're going to insert magazine 2, so you're going to be back at 30. Then you're just going to reload again. You're going to be using magazine 3. You're going to reload again. You're going to be using magazine 1 again. And then you're back at the 25 rounds because it's not going to it's going to be dependent on the magazine you have, kind of like a default Arma, so to speak. Yeah, let's use Arma as an example. Um, let's get started. So we need to actually create our weapon class. So I'm going to do that in our weapons. Create a new C++ class, type actor. I'm going to call it magazine base, make it public. Alrighty, let's go ahead and build just to get that build out of the way. Alright, we remove our tick because we do not need it. And get started with everything else. So let's make a new protected section. First off, we're going to need a static mesh. So I want to make this just default. We don't need a, because I want to be using a data table for this, just like we did with our weapons. We don't need it to make it a U property. So for declare use static mesh component, we're going to include static mesh components. So include components, static mesh component equals create default sub object u static mesh component. Give it a name of static mesh component. Then we set our root component to equal our mesh component, just like so. Now we can construct our data table. So in our header of our weapon.h, you can see where we created our data table. That contains our weapons mesh, the name, and the animation to use when we fire. So we're pretty much just going to copy this over. So copy the include for the data table.h, and then be lazy and just copy the data table structure. Now we just change it from f weapon data to f magazine data and take out whatever we don't need, such as the fire animation. So first thing we know, we need the u static mesh to be the static mesh. I want to call it magazine mesh. Change weapon name to magazine name. make another one. It's going to be a T array of F strings. Going to call it compatible weapons. And then give it another one. Same thing again. Of just going to be in normal integer. What to call it? Magazine capacity. That should be spelled right. And build. All right, let's go to our blueprint classes, weapons. We're going to make another data table. So right click, miscellaneous, data table. And the one we're going to use, if you just type in magazine, you should see magazine data. We're going to call it dt underscore magazine data and make ourselves a row. So we need the magazine's mesh. So I'm just going to do the AR4 for now. So the AR4 magazine, give it a name. I'm just going to keep this incredibly simple. AR-15 mag. Compatible weapons. If you recall from this data table, we have our AR-15. That's all I'm going to do. The exact same name. And then the capacity. I want to give this a capacity of 30. Then we just need to give it a row. And I'm going to call it AR-15 mag and save it. Okay. Now that we have that, we can continue working on our C++ class. So we're going to make a new function, just like before, void setup magazine. Take an F name, magazine name, and by default we're just going to simply call this when we get play. So setup magazine, going to call it, what was it, just AR-15 mag, I think was the row name. Yes. All right. So now we need to make a pretty much a variable to hold our magazine data. So we're going to make a U property. Edit anywhere. I'm going to call it F magazine data. Wait, no. U data table. Magazine data table. Oops. Then if magazine data table, here's where we're going to get everything else. So we can have a variable being our reference to it, our structure above. So F magazine data, magazine data, and do magazine data equals magazine data table, find row, then the type F magazine data. Then you can see what it takes in. First off being the row name, which is magazine name. I did not spell that right, did I? Then the context string, which we're just going to leave blank by now, and warn if row missing, true. So you can see for the third parameter, well at least I'd hoped, it takes a constant F string, So we're going to do static const f string. Previously, I think we called it just p string. Just give that a name of default p string. And then put p string in for the second parameter. Then do if magazine data. Here we can set the mesh. So mesh component, set static mesh. We're going to set that to magazine data dot magazine mesh, just like so, and build. All right, back over here, let's go to our C++ classes. Right click on our magazine base. We're going to create a blueprint version of the class, and we want to put it in weapons. Yep. And over here you can see the data table to use, data table, magazine data. Compile and save. Now, when we drag it out, hopefully we will see the magazine. Yep, just like right there. Right, so we have that. And I think I'm going to leave that for now and start another video where we go about actually giving it some functionality. So I will see you then.